What is up, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome back to another video on my channel. My name is Josh Fan of ShowMeFootball.com and ArrowheadAddict.com, covering your Kansas City Chiefs. And today I wanted to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs cornerback group. One that the Kansas City Chiefs opted not to bring someone else in at the trade deadline. They're going to roll with the group that they have. And the trade deadline was earlier this week, so it's a little bit late to be wrapping up talk about the trade deadline. So I'm going to phrase this video a little bit differently, and I'm going to ask the question and answer it for you, at least in my opinion. Do the Kansas City Chiefs have enough at cornerback for the rest of this season? As everyone knows, Jalen Watson, the Chiefs starting cornerback alongside Trent McDuffie, broke his ankle in that San Francisco 49ers game, and he'll be out for a while, maybe even the rest of the season. That is yet to be seen. But a lot of us wanted to see the Kansas City Chiefs maybe add a cornerback at the trade deadline to make up for the loss of Jalen Watson, because we've seen quite a bit of Najee Johnson, Joshua Williams, Christian Roland Wallace so far, and it just hasn't been great. And the Kansas City Chiefs were rumored to be in on New Orleans Saints star cornerback Marshawn Lattimore. He had a very cheap contract that the Kansas City Chiefs could have afforded, but Ian Rappaport kind of broke that down the day of the trade deadline, saying that the Washington Commanders were very well in it, but the Kansas City Chiefs were also a candidate to land Marshawn Lattimore. At the end of the day, the Washington Commanders were able to get him, and they were able to offer a little bit more. It kind of became a bidding war towards the end for Marshawn Lattimore, and we know that the Kansas City Chiefs, as far as draft assets and cap space, aren't equipped to get into a bidding war for a player they want. As nice as it would have been to land Marshawn Lattimore, there's just no way they were giving up a third-round pick or more. Washington gets him, and look, Washington is all in. They have a rookie quarterback on a rookie contract, and Jaden Daniels, he's been awesome this year. Washington has been one of the surprises of the 2024 NFL season, so good on them for going ahead and making that move. But it leaves the Kansas City Chiefs with no new additions, and I will say I am a little bit disappointed and also surprised that they still didn't add anyone, not even like a Tre'Davious White from the Los Angeles Rams, who ended up going to the Baltimore Ravens for a 7th-round pick. Now, some may point out that Tre'Davious White is probably in the twilight of his career, but I still think even have that veteran leadership for a 7th-round pick is something that I would have done, because I still don't really trust Najee Johnson, Joshua Williams, and Christian Roland Wallace. But we know the Kansas City Chiefs, and they tend to be pretty confident in the guys they have in-house. That's just always how they've been. Granted, General Manager Brett Veach was pretty aggressive at this deadline, getting a wide receiver, getting Joshua Uche at defensive end, and those were both really good moves. I just thought maybe he had one more in him to try and go all in with the cornerback room. So them not making a move tells me, one of two things. One, maybe they think Jalen Watson, there's a good chance that he'll be back this year. Or, number two, they simply just trust the guys they have. I'm hoping it's the former, because I don't really trust the guys that they have, and I think the Chiefs do this a little too much, where they trust the guys they have a little bit too much. I mean, they did it last year at wide receiver. We saw how that worked out. They barely scraped by at wide receiver. I do think that sometimes this front office gets a little bit of an ego. The coaching staff gets a little bit of an ego, thinks that their guys are more talented than what they really are. Now, all of that being said, Dave Merritt and Steve Spagnuolo have been especially great when it comes to coaching up the cornerback. So my hope is for the rest of the season that we see a Najee Johnson, a Joshua Williams, or a Christian Roland Wallace take a step forward. Out of those three, I think the best bet to really solidify himself in the rotation would actually be Christian Roland Wallace. I've liked what I've seen from him the most so far. I think a lot of times he's been in the right place. He just wasn't able to make a play on the ball. But he already has an interception. I believe he has another pass batted down somewhere in there. So I like what I've seen from him the most so far. And the next in line would be Joshua Williams, who, of course, was played out of the rotation to begin the year. My problem with Joshua Williams is, though he has the traits that you like and he was the highest investment out of the three, he really gives up a lot of big plays. Like, a lot of big plays he will give up. And so if we can just clean that up a little bit, then I'll feel better. And then there's Najee Johnson. And I'll just be honest about Najee Johnson. I was never a huge fan. I know people were hyping up in camp a couple years ago before he tore his ACL, but I just don't think... I think he's a special teamer at most. We've seen him play. He got put on the ground almost by Gardner Minshew blocking. If you're a cornerback, you should never be getting put on the ground by a quarterback. I mean, that's ridiculous. So those are my thoughts on those three guys. But there's also another thing that makes me feel a little bit better about the cornerback room as well, and that's what the Chiefs have done with their pass rush. They didn't acquire a cornerback at the deadline, but they brought in Patriots defensive end Joshua Uche. And Joshua Uche, I think, is going to continue to bring the pressure. And if there's one way to help out your cornerback room, it's to get more pressure on the quarterback. And I do think that's an area in which the Kansas City Chiefs were actually pretty damn good versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Their receivers made some great plays towards the end of the game, but the Chiefs' pass rush was making it tough on Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield just was able to make a play on the run or run for a first down a lot of the time, so the Chiefs didn't hit home a ton, but they were definitely getting there. Joshua Uche definitely got close a couple times, and then on top of that, you add the fact that they're going to get Charles Omenihu back here at some point, and once that happens, I think you're going to see this Chiefs pass rush really start to dominate, because you're going to have Charles Omenihu, who can get to the quarterback at a much higher rate than the other Chiefs defensive ends. Joshua Uche has one of the highest pressure rates in the entire NFL. He's going to start hitting home here at some point. Take it to the bank. That's from me. And then Mike Dana also, he's going to come back at some point, and there you're going to have your edge setting ability back. And then you're going to be able to give those guys a breather so that they can come in on third down and get after the quarterback on those passing downs. And I'm really looking forward to that. So to ultimately answer the question of whether or not the Kansas City Chiefs have enough at cornerback, I think they have enough to get by just because of how good the rest of the defense is and how I just mentioned the pass rush is going to be turning up the heat here later in the season. I think those are reasons to feel better about it. Maybe not necessarily the guys they have. You're just going to have to pray that Dave Merritt can make something happen with one of these guys in the cornerback room. And then maybe, just maybe, we can get Jalen Watson back before the end of the season. But it is a position group that I'm going to be watching now for the rest of the season to, evaluate Brett Veach at the end of the year and say, did you play this right? Did we need a guy? Or did we end up not getting someone and it ended up costing us the season later on because you couldn't guard the other team's best receiver or their number 2 receiver even? So we will see. Another option is maybe to bring in a safety and play more safeties. Jaden Hicks is a guy I'd look to. Chamari Connor could play a little bit more cornerback as well. But yeah, those are my overall thoughts on the cornerback room. I want to hear from you guys, though, down in the comments below. If you think the Chiefs are going to be okay with the cornerback room that they have, or if you would have rather seen them make a move to shore up that position group. We'd love to hear from you guys. All that being said, make sure you like, share, and subscribe so more Chiefs fans can find this. And make sure you check out my work on showmefootball.com and arrowheadaddict.com for more. I'll see you all in the next one. Go Chiefs!